and staying with country, and but to a young lady who has recently been kind of, I suppose, because record companies are kind of looking for the new Taylor Swift now. Although this girl has been around for a few years as well. She's 24, I think, and this is, I think, might even be her third or fourth album. In fact,
Right. Okay.
And yes, it's definitely, as you said, it's hinted at. This is definitely more country than the Steve Earle album is, in a kind of what people would consider to be country. And
Yes.
it does have pop tinges.
Yep.
But unlike Taylor Swift, who now mostly has pop music with country tinges, this is still very much country, still the main flavour with pop tinges in. And again, it's another album that's not overly long, and I think it's actually quite a nice record. You've got a couple of things like Merry Go Round, which is I think the first single off it.
All right.
Which has some great lyrics in it.
Yep.
About kind of, as you said, the same trailer park kind of, just looking at that kind of.
I think that's where the title comes from.
People come from,
Same trailer, different part.
And you've got Blowing Smoke, which is almost Sheryl Crow, early Sheryl Crow-like. Back on the Map, which I kind of thought was quite funny. Stupid, which has some woes in it, which I think could be another potential single. And yeah, I kind of thought this was a young lady with a lot of potential.
Yeah, agree entirely. Didn't realise this was her third or fourth album.
I think it is.
Because I actually thought she sounds really established in her own music and lyrics, which is very impressive. Again, we've talked about lyrical strength on some of the albums this podcast so far. I think this was the strongest lyrically. I was completely taken into her world by this album. I can't even say that for the Steve Earle album so much, but we're talking a different thing there. But I was completely drawn in by this album. It was an absolutely, utterly enjoyable experience listening to it. I can't really pick out individual tracks. I mean, you've mentioned a couple, because again, the album as a whole it's a solid, but it's quite a super solid record in that it's an enjoyable listen from start to finish. She takes you into her world. It's not necessarily her world all the time, but it's traditional country western in that it is a category of stories about female characters that have even had tough upbringings or have been hard done by, and yet it's different in that it is modern, it is fresh, it does have those pop tinges. It also has some folk, and I'm talking the modern popular folk tinges in there as well, which sounds daft when you're talking about country and western, because surely that is folk music for some, but actually no, it does incorporate some of that modern folk as well that's been very popular over here the last few years.
Well, been very popular everywhere.
And it's getting everywhere
since
now.
Mumford, it's done quite well.
Mumford went international, so it has those elements as well. So if you liked your Mumfords, you'll like this. If you like your Taylor Swift, you'll like this. So it really does sort of tick quite a few. If I had a Venn diagram, there'd be various balls within it that she does come under. Really, as I say, really enjoyable record. Possibly my favourite record of the podcast.
Oh. Interesting.
Yeah. I'll come to that in a moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.